Okay. Um, going back and reviewing Saturday, again, very grateful to get the victory. It's good to be sitting there at 1-0. With that being said, we know there's a lot of work to be done. I feel like there's a lot of elements of that game that I was very pleased with, things that we worked very hard in the offseason. We talked about toughness and improving the lines of scrimmage. Definitely felt that Saturday and watched the film. Felt the same way. We definitely improved. Ran the ball for 225 yards and limited them to 60. So that was important. The discipline aspect, penalties. Uh, really improved there. Didn't get off to a good start. The one and only offensive penalty we had was the first play of the game, but reined it in after that. Did not have another offensive penalty the rest of the game. I thought our operation was very smooth. We worked very hard throughout the summer just with the operation, just the signals, the cadence. We went on two several times. We got a big jump late in the game by them, so our cadence was very good and the discipline was good. We were very effective on short yardage. Again, point of emphasis that fell short a year ago. So it was good to get those things improved. We know ball security is an issue. Things we got to improve on was the ball security. I felt like explosive plays. We tried to push the ball down the field. I think we, took 5 shots and didn't convert on any of those. That's something we have to improve on. We know we need to create some explosive plays. If we did get two penalties on those, but again, I feel like we still had opportunities to go up and catch the ball and need to do that. So defensively, again, I think we played very well for the majority of the game. I would like to finish a little better, in particular, the last drive, the last touchdown score they had. But I thought the fourth down stops were critical. Getting the game started with an interception was very important to us, and they played really hard. That was the great thing on both sides. They played very tough, very physical, played very hard. There's many things to improve on, and we know that, and we'll get back to work right now. Obviously another great opportunity here this week to play a very challenging Old Miss team. Lane Kiffin and Old Miss and their staff do a great job each and every year. They're electric on both sides of the ball, and we'll have our hands full. It'll be a great challenge. It should be a great environment on a beautiful day here this Saturday, and we're looking forward to that challenge.
Mark, when you evaluated Zach's play from the first game on film, what did you see?
It felt, very, I think Saturday felt frustrating to a lot of people. I think if you just look at it offensively and we get started with a decent drive, stalls out, the big catch gets called back, we get a touchdown drive. The next three possessions really got us off track. I mean, it just was frustrating, I'm sure, to Zach, to our team, and certainly to us and the fans. I mean, we go whatever the order is. It's interception, uh, safety, fumble. And that sequence just was took us completely out of rhythm. And that'll do that. That's three wasted possessions right there. And then I think Zach was really pressing. I think it didn't. You watch the film and he did some good things. He put the ball in some places that we need to convert. You know, if, and then there were some that he missed, in some decisions that I'm sure he's going to look at this tape and want over. So there's a lot that he can improve on, but a lot around him as well, and we'll get it fixed.
There more plan.
Go ahead, let him elaborate a
So
little bit.
much about how Cutter played so well in that second scrimmage and was coming along in camp. How do you balance giving Zach time to prove himself, and if you have another quarterback that you think is
Yeah, I think that's fair, and it's something we evaluate all the time. We still have a lot of confidence in Zach, and we have confidence in Cutter, and there, you know, it would have been premature to pull the plug right there. I mean, I really believe Zach's going to do very well, and we strongly believe in Cutter. You look at the progression of Austin Simmons, and and what he's going into his third year, and man, he looks good, and you sit there and say, in one aspect, he's inexperienced, but he's really not. This is his third year in the system. He stepped in last year, played extremely well against Georgia. They didn't miss a beat. I had to go back and look. You know what I mean? Like, wait a minute here, and so, we'll evaluate those things. Both guys are going to get better. And, I will say after watching the tape several times, I felt better about it because there are things that we know we could get fixed and he'll play well. Sorry.
Well, you mentioned to the taking the deep shots. Are there more layups you can create for Zach to help get?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And I think that rhythm got completely, out of, out of whack there because we had a terrible third down, get the ball tipped, get the interception. And then again, we're not on the field for a while there. We get a one play safety, then you get the two play. You feel like you're creating that layup, that explosive, you know what I mean? Just get the ball moving, whatever the gain was, a 20-yard gain or whatever, and then we get the fumble. I mean, that those are things that are very frustrating because it's already tough. It's already frustrating. We're trying to, okay, we're getting it moving. We have good field position, created a good explosive on second down, and kind of the play that you're talking about right there, and then we get out of rhythm there. But yes, there are things we definitely need to control and help them with.
Hartley had 6 targets. I think the rest of the receivers had 3. Is that something that he earned during camp, or was it just kind of
Well,
byproduct of the?
yeah, yeah, byproduct of the place and where the quarterback goes with the ball at that moment and everything. It wasn't, designed to be doubled or anything like that.
I think back in the kickoff once around being at camp, Bush said we're going to run a lot for Kendrick Law. How much did his injury early in camp set back what you want to do with him, or is his role kind of?
Yeah, I think the injury didn't help. I mean, it set him back a bit, but I think plays and momentum and just again, you've heard me talk about that a lot, and it is frustrating. I'd like to run more plays. I'd like to move the ball more and get touches for many more people, but he's certainly one of them.
You said you'd have an update for us on Jermaine Wilcox. Do you have anything for us?
Yeah, I don't have anything. The status has not changed, so I really cannot comment on that anymore.
Mark, how did you feel about the Jagger and the snaps, which is best I could tell were good?
I felt like Jagger in general, not just the snaps. Jagger played very good, and he makes us a better team, inside. And I think you felt the presence of, in particular, the 3 inside guys.
What did you think of the offensive tackles?
They did some good things. We didn't give up a sack, probably give up a few pressures, can be stronger in the run game, but in general, our line played good.
Did you get through this injury free?
We're in decent shape, yes. We're in pretty good shape.
Mark, what is it about a Lane Kiffin coach team that makes preparation so challenging?
Well, the tempo is the first thing. Obviously they go extremely fast and they dress things up very well. They do what they do, but they present it differently and they present it very fast, and they have very good players out there doing it. Typical, team, for them, they're good in all areas. Again, I'm very impressed with Austin Simmons. They have 4 transfer wide receivers that are playmakers that can run. Very impressed with their tight ends. Very, very good players. Defensively, Pete Golding does a great job. Put a lot of pressure on you, make everything challenging and tough. And so, we'll have our hands full.
You talked about Simmons there a couple of times. Saturday, you talked a lot about the pressure that the defensive line caused, things that the fans caused. How important is that Saturday with the way that he plays?
It's always important. I think, trying to get the quarterback uncomfortable is always important. I think what they do with their tempo and with their play action and keeping you off balance, they do a nice job of making it comfortable for their quarterback. And so, we got to try to mix it up many different ways. We had some success in the past, with it, but it's always a challenge. It is each and every year. So, we got to continue to try to mix it up on them.
You all got the huge run from Dante, obviously, but before then, it just felt like you could never get, pop one, I guess. And McGowan's longest run, I think, was 7 yards. When you went back and watched the tape, did you feel like it was there and you just didn't hit it, or?
Uh, yeah, I felt like both guys hit it very good. Seth had an opportunity to make the last man miss, and the player made a nice tackle, shoestring tackle on him. But I felt like Seth was really close to ripping that one off as well. And I felt like we leaned on him all day. Very effective runs. I don't have that stat in front of me, but I don't think we had any negative yardage runs, and we were pushing it for 4 or 5 yards a crack, and that, hopefully, we'll continue that because we'd like to, try to keep people off balance that way. But I thought both backs ran very well.
Alex Safari had a great game. Was it even better and more impressive when you watched the video?
Yeah, it was quite impressive. I thought he played extremely well, and you've heard me talk about it through the preseason. He's been very consistent, and the guy that makes plays and is in the right spot. And I think he had 9 solos and however many assists, and the critical fourth down stop early in the game. So he played very well.
Weeks ago, a lot of guys on the defensive side of the ball early in the game until now.
Mhm.
Really pleased with kind of what you got from the depth.
I was, and you heard me say it going into the game. Yes, we talked about the duration of this season and how long it is, and the physical nature of our schedule, that we have to continue to play a lot of guys and bring them along and develop them. And you know, yeah, took. There's some plays in there that we'd like to have over as well. In particular at linebacker, and some plays that experience matters. And one of the late drives, we kind of gave up an explosive with some inexperience, and things that we had coached and went over and emphasized throughout camp, and gave up a big play that kind of got them going off the goal line, that hurt us. But those are the things that we knew going into it, that we have to understand and accept that some of these young guys are going to make some mistakes. We have to be good enough to overcome them and win anyway, and continue to develop them. And that's what we're going to continue to do.
Mark, when we were in the preseason media day, Bush said that he had last season back, thinking that the Brock ran in too much early in the season.
Mhm.
Zach was great with 10 carries. Saturday, what is your comfort level? How many times you play the game?
Yeah, I think some of that is dictated about what the defense is doing and what they're taking away. And with Zach, I think effective runs and then being smart is important. And big runs are different as well. The design quarterback runs, they're going to get hit and be physical inside the tackle box. There, sometimes on the perimeter on reads, they have no choice but to pull it.
Mark, what is your relationship with Lane? It's interesting. You guys have gone against each other 3 times, and every game has been sort of an epic, gone to the last minute or to overtime.
Yeah, I have a lot of respect for Lane. We communicate, and he's a very likable person, very good coach. Even when I wouldn't say our relationship was close, but we go back many years, back to my days at Arizona, and him at USC in those days. So, he's always been a great offensive mind, and I have a lot of respect for him and his family, his father, and brothers, and everybody. And so, great family, very good coach, and he's done a great job.
When you guys were in Destin, did he say, I still can't believe you went for that 4th down?
Maybe. Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
I know you're not one to look back, right? Each year's a new team, but that was the sort of tentpole win of last year. Do you
That was what?
last year's win at Ole Miss?
Yeah.
Do you try to use that at all going into this week's game?
You've heard me for 13 years say, last year was last year, this year is this year. And that's always the answer, because it's true. I've been on both sides of it, right? I go back to the 1,000 questions I get for losing to Florida for 31 years or whatever it was, you know what I mean? And so that one was a little bit obnoxious, but outside of that, this, like, that one was hard to get around. I said it because the buildup was real at that point. But with year to year, no, it's not easy to put last year in the rearview mirror. And that's what we all do, and it is what it is. I mean, you always learn, from past games, good or bad. And but as coaches, for the most part, we always look at last year's game and previous games to see the mistakes we made and how do we improve on those.
Mark, you guys are playing the only inter-SEC game this week, and it's early in the season. How important is the environment that's going to be out there Saturday with the fans and what they bring for you guys Saturday?
Yeah, I definitely think it's going to be important. Again, I don't, even though we've moved on, I understand what happened last year, and I want the excitement to be there. And I meant to mention that Saturday, how much, I felt like it was a great environment Saturday, especially early. I wish we'd have done a better job to keep that excitement up there, even on our sidelines. I'll be honest with you, like it was deflating those possessions, and we can't afford to do that. And that kind of took some of the air out of the stadium. So we apologize to the fans for that because we felt like they were there and teed up and ready to go and supporting us. And, we could have done a better job there. And I'm sure it's going to be a great environment Saturday.
Mark, I don't want to keep focusing on Coach Kiffin, but word has it that he's still pretty upset that you knocked him out of the college football playoffs last year. Any fear that he's going to come in here and run up the score on you?
Ole Miss tries to score every time they touch the ball, no matter who they're playing. That's not going to change with Lane. You know what I mean? So it's your job to stop them.
What was the final decision to move Alex inside? What was the final factor that you said, like, this is his home, and it seemed to have paid off?
Yeah, I think, we just looked at it and, as I mentioned, I think it's a unique story that, first of all, going back to his high school days, that he thought he was going to go play soccer. And then he transitioned to American football there, and we recruited him. I remember recruiting him, and I'm like, no, I'm not going to rule out corner. You know what I mean? We felt safety, but I said I'm not going to rule out corner because I like big corners. And and then right away we felt like he was a safety, and then he moved to the outside backer or the hybrid position there for a while, and then inside. And I was really pleased. As I said, I felt like he made that transition very well last year. I don't think that was really talked about enough, how he moved inside and played so well a year ago. And this is one game, but he certainly took another step.
Humphrey Grace had to come out of that game.
Mm-hmm. We'll see. He's day to day. We got a little lower body, little ankle, but we'll see.
Mark, it seemed like Tryon Nicholas got in there a lot there. It seemed like 3 or 4 possessions in a row. He was just sitting out there on the corner spot. What did you expect from him? And is that going to be a thing maybe with him and DJ, maybe JQ? He's going to.
To Ryan's we look at him as a starter. He's, we rotate those 3 corners, and we do in practice. We do all the time. I mean, he's, we're going to need, 3+. And so he's a guy we have a lot of confidence in.
I think it was 2016 when you had Vinny and Boone in the backfield. Most years you've been one guy, but what are the benefits when you have kind of 2 co-starters?
Yeah, I think it's important throughout the game. I think we all have seen where a running back can get in a groove, and you want to let him, let him play. But I think it's just important for the duration of the season. It's very rare that a running back in this league can take that kind of punishment with getting every rep for an entire season. I think if you asked every coach in our every coach in general, they're going to want multiple guys, certainly at that position. And so I think it's important. It's good. We really believe in those 2 guys, and they both. I think a lot of people just think that Dante's a big guy and run inside, and you saw that his speed, Saturday. And conversely, Seth is a guy that ran very good between the tackles, got some tough yards, and he's also special out of the backfield and can make some people miss. So we'll continue to work those 2 guys.
Working on it's early. There's been so much talk even in offseason about making sure that offensive line's improved in your next day. You talked about how much better they did. When you watched the film, what were some of the things that you were like, okay, that has improved. We can build on that.
Well, I think, the obvious is the short yardage. We understand the challenge is going to improve as well. We play a front this week and a team this week that is very disruptive, very big and strong. um, both in the run and in our protections. We're going to be challenged at a, much more this week. And so, with what, Pete does defensively, he's going to create problems with pressure. He's going to, and also just challenge it with the four down, so we'll have our hands full and, we just have to improve ourselves. We were better at running the ball. You have seen us play the MAC teams in the past and struggle running the ball. And that was an improvement this week. And, I thought the short yardage was an improvement as well.
Martin, I've discussed before, this is so important to be able to defend home turf. And the fact that y'all lost 7 straight SEC games here at Kroger Field, this and that, in that sense, how important is Saturday?
In that sense, again, not to diminish any of that, but I don't even think about that. It's, what do we have to do this week? I think we all understand that. The focus is on this week, this game.
Mark, what did you see on tape from David Goose?
Played very hard, very, very good football player, and will continue to help us out. I like the way he plays. He's a physical guy, plays hard, great energy.
Looked like you were able to get penetration, not blitzing, with just.
Yeah. We were more disruptive with the D linemen. Yeah, it was good, and we rotated. We played 6 defensive linemen, so that was good.
Got to ask you about special teams. Thoughts?
Yeah, felt like again an area that played very well. I think, we all want to start really fast and play really well in all phases. We've been waiting and talking for a long time, and we had some possessions that I wish we'd had over and all that. But you look at 2 phases of it defensively. I felt like we played a very good game against a very talented offense. You're going to see that offense make some hay throughout this year. We talked about the quarterback going into the game and have a ton of respect for him. And then in special teams we played extremely well again. Felt like we kicked the ball very, very good. The guys covered well. We had an opportunity to create some explosives there that we'll continue to work at, but very solid and very good. And that's a good thing.
You mentioned it after the game, and so did Bush, but the whole biggest improvements from week 1 to week 2. Why do you think that's become a percent? Why do you think that can be the case?
Well, number one, I think just in general, the build up and the lead up to week 1, some people handle it different than others. I think, players, as much as I constantly try to preach it and talk about it and everything, I think that's very real. You have a lot of new players, coming here playing for the first time wearing the blue and white. They want to play well, including the quarterback. I felt like he was very amped up and, and anxious, like all of us probably were. We've admitted that, and you try to handle it the same way. And you really, I felt like in this aspect, the team handled it very well. Kind of primary responsibility, secondary. In particular on the defensive side, sometimes guys try to do too much. There's new plays. There's a new, so you know what I mean? That like even when we're practicing scout team or offense is simulating Toledo, it's different. It's different when they present it, the way they play and all that. So, I think there's many different reasons why you could make a big jump. Now, I also believe in this team, the way they take coaching and the way they take criticism and look at, try to get their mistakes corrected. And, I have no reason to believe that our team won't handle it that way. They have to look at the tape here when we get together and take the coaching, take the criticism, look at the good and look at the bad and look at the, plays that are inexcusable. And we got to try to get them fixed.
Couple more.
Mark, we always enjoy talking to you. What went into the decision to not do the Thursday afternoon?
I simply said, there's not much more to say. And I told them to ask you. And I don't think anybody here wanted to do it either. So unless you and I want to have a conversation, okay? I'm available Monday. I'm available Wednesday on the conference call. And Thursday, I think everybody, quite honestly, y'all didn't know what to ask, and I didn't know what to say. It was like, okay, we had a good week. Time to go play ball. That's what went into it.
One other thing, Oscar Combs was in a press box for the first time since before COVID. He means so much to the program. Did you get a chance to talk to him? And you feel extra pressure. He's going to be here, I think, in the Ole Miss game too.
That's good. I didn't know, and I did not know. Of course, I think we're in different places, but I wish him all the best. That's for sure.
All right, folks, thank you very much.